Hi, and welcome to the Glow Interviews. My name is Katie Oman, and I am author, psychic, motivational speaker, and coach. The Glow Interviews is a place where we can meet some really inspirational and amazing people who are going to light us up. By talking to them, I know that we will be left feeling empowered, inspired, and hopeful of a brighter tomorrow. All the contact details for both myself and my guests are in the description box below. So if you want to get in touch with either of us, please feel free to do so. Today's guest is Lyn Thurman, who is an author, speaker, holistic therapist, witch, and modern day priestess. Lots of things under her belt. She is the author of the books The Inner Goddess Revolution and Goddess Rising, as well as the creator of the Sea Whispers Oracle. Along with her husband Paul, Lyn runs the Quiet Rebel Bureau to support other writers to bring their messages to the world. Lyn is such a gentle and loving soul, and I'm so pleased to sit and have a chat with her today. So welcome, Lyn. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me on your show, Katie. I love watching them, so it's a real honour to be here today. So yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, me too, me too. I think it's been a long overdue, this one coming, so I'm looking forward to it.
It really has.
So look, we have to talk about the elephant that none of us can get away from right now, 2020. You know, it's been the craziest year on record, and certainly in my living memory. So how have you been coping, and have you been able to find any blessings in all this chaos?
Yeah, for me, it's actually been a very healing and therapeutic time, but a bit crazy as well. So I don't know if you know, we moved to Wales at the beginning of the lockdown, 10 hours before the lockdown. So it started off absolutely chaotic because we got the message on the phone that the UK goes into lockdown from midnight tonight when we were driving up the motorway from southern England to North Wales. Wow. We were in our little van, so it started off with a bang. We had no furniture because our plan was we would get furniture when we got here, of course, all the shops. So we spent the first 4 months of lockdown sitting on the floor. So it was floor picnics every day for every meal for 4 months before we could, you know, before shops even began to open again so we could get some furniture. But that in itself was a great blessing because we were living out of a suitcase. We still haven't quite got wardrobes completely done yet. So we just had like a suitcase each, or really it was just like a sports bag each. So we were living out of that. We had no furniture. We'd been on the floor. You know, the kitchen was fine. We got plates, everything we need there. But it makes you realise how grateful you are just to have the experience of you really do have everything you need. But to outside eyes, people would think, oh my goodness, they're sitting on the floor again. And it did get to a point where I did feel that in my old bones. It's like, oh my God, I might get on the floor, will I ever get up off the floor? But it was a really humbling experience that really made me think about how much stuff do we really need in this world. And you can find a lot of happiness with just the basic things. And I know my basic things, I managed to get a washing machine delivered and a fridge freezer delivered. So those kind of things were really important. Other people don't have those. So my basics were a lot more than what other people have. So it was a time of deep gratitude, and I'm still grateful for that experience, and I'm super grateful I don't have to sit on the floor anymore. However, I am by choice for this interview.
I actually prefer it on the floor anyway. I mean, I grew up as an only child surrounded by adults, so I was always relegated to the floor. So it's like a lot of times I find myself sitting back down there anyway. So floor gang all the way.
Yeah, I do. I like sitting on the floor. I mean, it connects you to the earth. Yeah. And I think a lot of people miss that connection just by the simple things of walking around barefoot, or you know, ignoring the settee or the chairs and sitting on the floor for a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, it's just as you get older, it takes a bit longer to get your bottom back up off the floor.
Oh, hours.
Go sit in a beanbag chair, you'll be there all day. Bless you. But I mean, I'm feeling a lot more settled now. Did you obviously have a connection to Wales? Because it was obviously a big move for you to make. So Was that something that you were drawn to do?
It was about, it was my husband's birthday last year, which was, so the 24th of September, so almost a whole year ago. We went for a few days for a break. We picked it randomly. I wanted to go to Norfolk. He wanted to go to North Wales, so I let him win because it was his birthday. So we went, so we just spent a few days there. And I think it was on his birthday, we drove to Lake Bala, which is in Snowdonia, and it was where Ceridwen's cauldron is meant to have been, and she did her magic in the big cauldron in the middle of the lake. And I was sitting there by myself, and it was just so peaceful. And I suppose a feeling just washed over me of serenity. And I just thought to myself, I need more of this in my life. I want this feeling. And I was thinking about all the stressful things that belonged where I was at. And I'm thinking, why am I even there? I want this feeling. So I spoke to Paul and said, I think we should consider moving to Wales, just out of the blue. And he said, yeah, that would be a really good idea. So we did it.
I think sometimes you have to trust, because I don't believe, I mean, everything happens for a reason. I don't believe there are any kind of random coincidences. And for you to have that feeling, you know, sometimes we have to be brave and leap forward. Sometimes we just have to go for it and trust that, you know, the universe will catch us if we, you know, make the choice.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously meant to get here by the skin of our teeth, admittedly, but we got here.
Yeah.
And these months where we were on lockdown, which was a lot longer than England, Wales had a lot stricter enforcement, I think were really healing.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people had a very difficult time during the lockdown. And there were moments where it was very frustrating because we had all these plans, but, you know, what can you do? But it was really healing to take a breath, to have some peace and time to really think about, what do I want to do? Now I'm here, what am I going to do? Because previously, the last maybe 5 years have been incredibly stressful. And then I've got this opportunity to start again in somewhere where it feeds my soul being here. And so it was an opportunity to think, what am I going to do with that? How am I going to be of service in the world from this point forward, where previously I felt like hiding? So I feel recharged. I don't know if that's answered your question. I think I've rambled.
No, it's good though, because I think it's important. You know, so many of us were on that hamster wheel. I know I certainly was, of like every day was jam-packed to the point that there wasn't enough hours and things would spill over and you still felt guilty that you hadn't done everything. And then suddenly life had to slow down, didn't have a choice. And like you say, you realise what's important, what really matters. It connects you back into yourself, and are you happy? And if you're not happy, what can you do about it? I think it's something that we all really needed. It's just a shame that it happened, of course, the way it did. So
yeah, and I don't think everybody looked at it as a blessing either.
No, of course.
Maybe in years to come, with hindsight, they would see that it was a wonderful opportunity. Oops, sorry, it was my tablet.
Don't worry. You see, this is a very live recording. You know, we're very real. This stuff like this happens all the time. Don't worry about it.
I knew it was going to happen.
It happens. Don't worry.
Yeah, but yeah, with hindsight, maybe people would have seen it as a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Hopefully. Well, no, time will tell, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, as I said in the bio, you have written 2 amazing books, both of which I've been very fortunate to read. One was The Inner Goddess Revolution and then Goddess Rising. So what drew you to focus on these topics in particular in your writing?
Oh, do you know what? It began in Wales, funnily enough.
Funnily enough.
When my daughter was about 3, 4 years old, we did another quick trip to Wales, but South Wales, and we went walking at waterfalls. And I'm not really good at walking uphill, so Paul and Tabby were miles ahead and I was lagging behind, but it kind of like sent me in this altered state of reality with all the water rushing down, and I was by myself. I was very in the moment, and I just felt drawn to the sacred feminine at that point.
Yeah.
So I started to, I created a little group it was called the Soul Path Tribe originally, then the Inner Goddess Circle, where I'd write about different goddess energies each month. And it kind of went from there. And the more I experimented, researched, it just made me realize that there is such a lack of awareness of positive feminine energy in the world, and we need to kind of bring back that awareness.
Yeah.
So that's how it started, up a waterfall in Wales.
They're amazing books. Like I say, I was fortunate to read both of them. I actually read The Inner Goddess Revolution before it came out, and I was just like, it almost feels, I think, like, especially as a woman, but I suppose as a man, because obviously we have feminine and masculine energies within us, but certainly as a woman, I felt like it was like a reconnection. It was like plugging back in to myself. So if you haven't checked it out, I definitely recommend you go and have a look. It's a really, really special book.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, actually, I was quite blown away last year. Britney Spears read my book. I know. She put it on. She put it on Instagram, and someone just tagged me out of the blue. I don't even know who it was, and said, "Did you know Britney Spears is reading your book?" I'm like, "Oh, come on!" I almost didn't even follow the link. I thought, "You're having a joke here." Yeah, so she read it. That's amazing.
That's your claim to fame. I love it. I love
it.
Well, she's going through a very difficult time because she's still very controlled, isn't she, by her family? So maybe reading your book can help her be where she needs to be. Well, time will tell again. We'll see. We'll see. So anyway, what led you to the work that you do now then? Where did you start off?
Oh gosh, I'm getting so old, it's difficult to find out when things began. I think from a very early age, I've been a little strange, a little different, in especially how I see the world and how I think. So I think it was there from an early age, but as I grew up in a teenager and in my 20s, that kind of part of me was suppressed. I suppressed myself, I suppose, or let other people's opinions and thoughts dominate my slightly weird look at life. But I think there's always been a part of me that needed to express this. And more than ever is it needed, which is kind of like how lockdown has been for me, this realization that I can't be quiet about things, that I've got to step up more.
Yeah.
Because if we don't do this, Katie, who will?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we look to like the leaders and the politicians and stuff for the longest time to fix things and to sort things, but it's becoming more and more clear, I think, that that's not working. So it's up to the people to be the ones that be the change in the world. I really feel that.
Yeah, and it's through our writings, if we're doing speakings, the things that we put out there, that if it just gets people to question their reality, then that's our job done.
Absolutely. You open the door. I think it's true. You can't always make everybody walk through it, but we still need somebody to open that door. So it's an honor. Sometimes it can be quite a hard task. People think that what we do is that easy. It's not. It can be really hard, but it can be very, very rewarding as well. So
it is when you know about it. But like you said, you open the door, and sometimes people don't walk through that door for a couple of years. And you never know the end story. And a lot of the times you work with people, you just...
No. Sometimes I wish I did. Sometimes I wish I could go back and like revisit the people who I've tried to help and see where they are now,
Yeah. But you have to come to a realization that you have to let that go. You have to surrender to it, because it's not our job to know the end in most cases.
No, it'd still be nice though.
It would be nice, yeah.
So what do you wish you'd known when you started out that you know now?
That things take a lot of time. I think that is a big thing. When you start out in your own business, whatever it is, there is so much social media, although there was less back in the day when I started, but there's still pressure that this is the way to do things. You can be an overnight success, you can earn 6 figures, you can earn 7 figures, and it's all going to be easy. but really it's a journey, and I suppose for some people they do get lucky enough to break through very quickly, but for most people that I know, it is a slow process, because you work on yourself as you work on your business or your offerings. So you're always uncovering layers on yourself as you're trying to help people.
Yeah.
And if you rush into that and, you know, get that overnight success, you miss that journey. And I wonder if those people who do seem to make it and do seem to have it all have that foundation that they need to sustain themselves. So I think I would tell my younger self, you know, it might take a while, not to get frustrated.
Yeah.
And people come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and they've got all different life issues to me, and everything is valid. Even the weirdest things you've ever heard are valid. And I think that's always good, and another humbling experience to remember that everyone is different, everyone's unique, and everyone's answers are unique at the same time as well.
Absolutely. I think we need, if 2020, I think, has given us anything, it's because the world's become quite polarized in a lot of ways. You know, people have very strong opinions about what to do and what not to do and how to approach things. And I think sometimes people get offended really quickly. And it's like, actually, just because someone doesn't agree with you, you know, sometimes you have to kind of accept that. And rather than, you know, trying to turn them around to your way of thinking, you have to say, well, I don't agree with you, but you're still valid in your, because that's the way you think and you're allowed to think that. So rather than kind of this constant battle that we're in, it's just saying that not everyone's going to think the same way, and that's okay, you know?
Yeah, it's a good point about the constant battle. It's like, at the moment, I think it's very obvious, at least it is to me, that everything that kind of big that gets out there is all about fear and about them and us. And yeah, we live in such a fear-based society at the moment. It's really, really scary.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know about my chakra experiments that I've been doing over the
no,
years.
tell us about them. That sounds interesting.
Well, when it was about 5 years ago, I wasn't feeling great myself, and I started my own journey after conventional medicine. I realized that is not for me, that is not my route. So I began to look deeply into energy and the chakras and the meridians and this and that. In January 2017, I did an experiment on my Facebook page. I asked for volunteers so I could remotely connect with people's energy centers to see which ones were out of balance. And I did it again in May this year during the pandemic. So I had 2 sets of results to compare. In the first experiment, it was the solar plexus chakra, the root chakra, and the throat chakra that were most out of balance in that order. Fast forward to the middle of a pandemic, it was the root chakra, the throat chakra, and the solar plexus in that order. I tested 150 people in May, and 89% of those people had their root chakra imbalanced. So can you imagine the fear that people are living in and how that relates to the outside world, and the outside world relates to the inside? So we're living in a time where there is so much fear around that, you know, people aren't being able to see clearly or act clearly because they're coming from a place of reaction.
Yeah.
Generally.
So for those of you who don't know, the root chakra is connected to your security, your stability, your home. You're very grounded. You're very, this is who I am, sense of, you know, purpose and self. And so if that's blocked, all of that stuff is like completely not aligned, you know. It's basically, yeah.
And I've been finding statistics to kind of prove that, you know, make it, you know, prove my theory. And just yesterday, I read headlines and a news article, which I try not to read too much, but how I won't have any other way of knowing about, you know, my rules. Anyway, that this headline said that since the beginning of the pandemic in the UK, 100,000 families have taken food parcels that had never used that before. And that is a crazy figure. I've got figures that I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was
Yeah.
between a 10-year period that the trust gave out food parcels, and I think it was like 2009, 2010. It was a figure in the tens of thousands.
Yeah.
By 2019, it had gone up to over 1 million food parcels. So, you know, something change. We can't live like this.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we just have to wait and see. You know, obviously we had a chat before we came on this call, and like we both said, you know, we just got to do today, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow. And that's all you can do. All we have is today. You know, tomorrow is not guaranteed to any of us in our lifetime, so we just have to do right now, and then see what happens next. That's just all we can do, really. It's hard, though.
Absolutely, we can. Each day we can make better choices.
Yeah, absolutely, and try and just do the best that you possibly can, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's just getting out of bed in the mornings. For some people, that's the best they can do that day, and that's okay.
Yeah,
you know?
that is okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what's been your hardest lesson so far, and what did it teach you on this journey of life?
Oh, my hardest lesson. Not following my intuition has been a huge lesson, and I try not to do it very often anymore because the results are usually catastrophic for me. Yeah, like getting married the first time, that was a huge mistake, and my intuition was screaming at me not to do it. But on reflection, I've been thinking about these times when I have ignored my intuition, and I've done it because I was fearful of something.
Yeah.
Fear had outweighed my common sense, my intuition, my inner voice. Yeah, I was fearful of what people would think of me. Fearful of standing up on my own for all the decisions I made that went against my intuition.
Yeah.
At the beginning, when I've been doing all these chakra experiments, I'm thinking, oh, okay, there's a lot of fear around. I'm thinking, well, I don't think that applies to me anymore, you know, like that pride before the fall moment. And then on reflection, it's like, oh my God, my whole life has been fear-based.
You tend to find that it's like the macro, which is the outside world, like what's going on, normally reflects the micro, as in what's going on inside you. So
Absolutely.
it's always like a good kind of mirror to hold it up to where we're at, I think. At least to have a look at it, you know. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, from a personal perspective, every time I've ignored my intuition, it's not worked either. You know, it's like when we get the lesson, you know, it's like, but, you know, the journey is important as the destination, of course. So
absolutely, you know, yeah. But now I listen to it.
I try. I mean, sometimes it still can get a bit caught up in fear, but you know, you try and come back to it. You know, it's like it's a lesson, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So as part of that, if you could go back to your younger self, whatever age that would look like for you, what would you say to her?
I would tell her to be brave. I think that would be my biggest gift I could give my younger self, would be to be brave and not worry what other people think, to follow my own path, whatever that way that looked like.
Yeah.
I mean, I think your path changes throughout the years anyway.
Absolutely.
But I think I would have been open to being weirder younger. You know, if I wasn't so worried about what other people think of me, I think my life would have taken different directions. Probably would have ended up exactly the same place, because I feel like this is where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
But I think the journey would have been different. But then saying that, you know, I've got 3 kids, I've got a family, got this little house in Wales, and I can't grumble. But still, I wish I'd been a bit braver.
Next time round, next lifetime will be brave.
I know, I don't really want to do it again.
Well, we don't think we'll probably get a choice, but we shall see.
I don't think we do.
I'm sure we'll have another conversation next lifetime, and we'll say, you've been brave this time.
Yeah. It'd be like, oh, this looks familiar. We've spoken about this before.
Oh, bless you. So who or what inspires you to be your best self now?
I don't think there is an external source. I think it's like spirit. to be honest. I see lots of people doing great things, and I think that is amazing. But to be my best version of myself, I think I have to tap into who I am and be more directed by the God, spirit, you know, whatever you want to call it. And I think that is how I will become the best version of myself, or a better version of myself every day, if I follow that kind of wisdom that is bigger than me, greater than me. Because I definitely don't have the answers. It comes from somewhere else.
Yeah, I like that. I think there's a good kind of Far Eastern philosophy that says our brains are basically 4 rooms. And if you've heard of this, then it's one's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And that most people spend most of their time in at least 2 rooms. But there's always one room that tends to be like dusty, curtains shut, cobwebs everywhere. And for most people, it's their spiritual self. But to be whole and to have full well-being, you have to spend as much equal time as you can in each of the 4 rooms.
Yeah, that's a lovely analogy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's very true, because most of us are very dominant on one thing. So for me, it's very, well, it used to be, before I found my spiritual self, it was very mental and emotional. So, and my physical is my dusty room.
Mine too. Mine will still have cobwebs in.
It's got gym memberships and exercise equipment that I've not used. That's what's in my room.
We'll do that next live.
Oh, geez Louise. So I touched upon the Quiet Rebel Bureau in the bio, which watching you do that with Paul has been wonderful. But what led you to that path? What led you from writing to wanting to actually take control of it yourself?
Well, most of the big decisions I've made, like moving, you know, all these things, kind of weird things, come out of the blue. But when I wrote Goddess Rising, I self-published that. And as I was self-publishing, because I did a lot, because my background was in IT, and you know, I'm a bit geeky. I like that kind of thing. So I did it all myself. And as I was publishing it, I thought I should just create a publishing company. But I didn't, because I was fearful at that time. I'm like, who am I to create this? You have to be, I don't know, something other than me to do that.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, we went to a coffee shop that a friend runs, and a lady who I never met, she just sat there and said, you should start a publishing company. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I hear this one. So I went and did it.
And how is that kind of developing during this time? Is it still able to move forwards, or has it been kind of on pause during this crazy year?
It's moving forward. It's slow pace, but that suits us right now. We don't want to have a great big massive business. Slow and steady, you know, that's kind of like my energy, like my dusty physical.
I think it goes back to you talking about building that foundation. You know, it's like if you kind of had an overnight success, it would almost be throwing you in the deep end, and it would be quite overwhelming. I think for you taking it slow, you're building something that hopefully would have a very solid and lasting foundation.
Yeah, and we can afford a better life-work balance by this. By having our own little business and, you know, taking it. Having said that, we're publishing a book that's coming out this Friday called Don't Try Him at Home by Sandra Tenhoop, which is absolutely amazing. Sandra is a corporate lawyer in Amsterdam, and she has just bared her soul about her toxic relationships, including the near-death experience when she was strangled. So it's just this powerful book. So I feel so honoured that our little company is getting voices out. You know, that's what it was all about.
Definitely. So for all those people out there who, you know, maybe have always wanted to write a book, or, you know, they think that it's kind of a nice idea, but not for them, you know, do you have any advice from a writer to potential ones out there?
Do it. Just do it. But I think you have to have a good frame of mind. It's like those 6-figure businesses, but everyone thinks, oh, it's easy. I've got a laptop. I'll just write a book. But the journey, like we keep talking about, is the journey. it takes you through a wide range of emotions. You have to dig deep within yourself to let your words, your ideas out, and it's a very personal thing, because if you've been keeping those inside, so then you have to come to terms with you're letting this go. Other people are going to read it. There's all these kind of feelings, and it's a long journey. I found it very lonely writing. I don't know about you, Katie, but you are in your own little bubble.
Yeah, I think because I've written 4 to date, and everyone's been different. Everyone's been a snapshot of where I was at that time. And I've noticed a big shift between my happiness book and then the last one that came out this year, which was the Self-Love Pledge, was like, because the self-love was more personal and it was my story, rather than just talking about a theme and a topic, it was my story. So that for me was, yeah, it certainly took me through a whole range of emotions, and I'd be crying and ranging, and then like I remember stuff that I'd forgotten. And yeah, I think you say you've got to be in the right headspace to go there, you know, but it depends what the book's about, I think. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm sure if you're a fiction writer, you have a totally different way of seeing it, because I suppose you're living in characters. But yeah, do it, sit down, write it. It's a journey, it's therapy. Get your book out, get your words out.
Definitely.
Get your story out.
Definitely. So last question, my darling. These interviews, as you know, are called the Glow interviews, and I called them that because I wanted to help light people up and bring some light to the darkness. So in that vein, what lights you up? What brings you joy in your life?
Being an introvert, a lot of the things that bring me most pleasure are kind of very solo things. I am in my happiest place down by the beach with a camera in my hand, where I can capture the beauty of the world around us. That just takes me to a different place. I lose track of time. I don't want to go, especially if there are seals by the beach and I can try and get seal pictures. Yeah, those are the things that really fill me, where I feel connected with everything around, and feel part of the universe, especially when you look up, there's this great big sky, there's the ocean out there, and I'm privileged to be able to capture some of that absolute gorgeousness from my camera. So that's kind of like my happy thing.
You can see, like, as you talk about it, you do kind of light up from inside. It's a really nice thing to see. You can see how much that means to you, I think.
Yeah, I love it. I love photography.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say I've kind of reconnected to my painting. I think it's like to find something, it doesn't have to be a career move. It doesn't have to be something that necessarily brings you money. It's to find something that you do just because you love to do it, you know? It's that joyful thing. Absolutely. So bless you. Well, look, guys and girls, if you want to know more about Lyn and her wonderful work, I will put all her links under here. So go and have a click and have a look. And Lyn, thank you, my darling. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I just really send you so much love. I think you're amazing. So just keep doing you and keep being you. You're amazing.
Thank you so much, Katie. It was a real pleasure talking to you again. And yeah, thank you for creating this sacred space for the Glow interviews. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And guys, I shall see you on the next one. Have a great day. Lots of love. Bye.